How's it going, everyone? It is Tuesday, July 16th, 2024, and let's get into the pick from the last video, which was MSTR. So when I took this pick yesterday, I took it actually right around here at 12:30, and this could have been a winner, but I kind of did not manage this trade well. And so if I didn't manage to trade well and it was a winner, I can't make it a winner on my YouTube picks. So let's talk about just the setup here. So at least on the D1, this is a nice breakout on heavy volume through a lot of technical levels here. Gap up. We had compressed. We had held the gap over here. We were pulling back, and we'd formed this sort of consolidation zone where we had a little bit of an ascending triangle. So what I mean by that is we have these higher lows coming into play. This flat top right over here. So if I were to draw something like that, we had this setup here. So we knew that buyers were still coming in, and this was a more bullish looking consolidation. Also at a time when the market was dropping down. So I took it right here, and it felt pretty good. We got some immediate follow through. The stock paused for a second, and then we got this little tail, and I actually ended up scratching out on this tail at 1 o'clock. And here's what I saw at 1. So my bias was that we would hold this level, and we'd find some support. We had this 1-up bullish cross to lean on, but then we got this big heavy volume spike with a little bit of a tail here at 105. So I didn't really like that, and that came across as a little bit bearish to me. But even though I exited the trade almost in the last 40 seconds or so, this tail came up in the last, I want to say, last minute or so. It was I'm going to zoom into the 1 minute chart here. Let's see if I can find this. Yeah, so here's 103. And then here's the 104 candle. So right over here at the very last minute, it popped up and became a tail. And then we had moved on higher. So, whoops, let me take this guy off. So I ended up scratching out of the trade. That would have been a winner. As you can see, if I had stuck through it, and the correct time to take exit was probably close to over here. I had a passive target on this, so it's 16. Take profits at around 16.25. So I would have taken profits right here, and then I would have had a chance to reload on the trade later in the day, sometime over here, perhaps on an LRSI cross. You can get back in and reload on the trade. So that's probably how I would do it. But yeah, that ended up being a scratch, and I had a good setup. I had a good entry. I just did not expect the market to do this, and I ended up overreacting to this candle when it still had some relative strength. Market ended up flattening out over here, and in that period when it flattened out, the stock rallied quite a bit. And it still would have been a winner for pretty much the rest of the day, right? We had one test over here, but would have been a winner for the rest of the day. So that's how I know I had a great pick and a good entry point. So that was a break even. We're going to take that out for the day. And I'm going to take a look at what the market is doing today. So yesterday, we had a bit of a bearish reversal. We had a gap up, tested the all-time high, and then we had a smackdown kind of towards the bottom, and then it sort of, kind of had a pitter-patter out at the end there. If we look at the SPY D1 chart here, here's a couple things that are interesting. If you draw a upward sloping trend line from the high of May 23rd, touching the high of June 17th, June 20th, all the way over here to June 12th, you can see that we're touching the top of this upward sloping trend line. And we're at the top of this bullish channel. So there's going to be a little bit of more selling pressure here. Now, we're also at the bottom of this bullish channel, so we're in this pretty narrow bullish channel that's also within a much larger bullish channel that I drew over here. It looks a little bit warped because sometimes it gets warped from in this very long-term view. But if I were to just even do this on probably a week 1 basis or something like that, right, somewhere here, That's kind of our longer term trend line that's coming into play. So that helps us give some context, right? We have some direction. We know the volume is light, but it does keep us mildly bullish. We know we have earnings seasons coming up. Retail sales had come out today, a little bit cooler than expected. Although if you take out auto and gas, it was actually a little bit better than expected. So those major components of retail sales are what holds it down. I've been thinking about retail sales and contextualizing it a little bit more in the fact that most of our GDP is consumption based. 80% of our GDP is consumption. So it seems like retail sales is a good proxy for that. I still have to look into it. Don't take my word, but that's sort of the recent conclusion that I've arrived at. On a technical basis, again, light volume drift higher. The nice thing is we're above our AVWAP Q. It's kind of settled in over here. We've been above 8 EMA. So it's a situation where I've been taking some swing scalps on the long side and the short side. I had a nice win. I'll show you on a stock like JMIA. Entered here, and then I took profits at around $14. So that was a nice win. I'm actually swinging MSTR right now as well, popping up higher. So I'm taking some swing scalps where I'm getting some stocks that are breaking out. Heavy volume, strong technical levels breaking out, and then just selling them into strength. You can also do this on the short side. So I am in EAT right now. EAT has been a nice bearish trend. It's a little bit choppy, but very nice bearish trend, especially when the market has been going down. So you find stocks that have strong breakouts, strong technical breakouts on heavy volume. And those are the stocks that you can kind of take some swing scalps on. So I've been reluctant to do some swing scalps a little bit earlier because I felt that we may get some sort of serious move, but I've been keeping my swing scalps pretty light and pretty balanced. So usually either at most 1 or 2 longs or 1 or 2 shorts. So my portfolio isn't super packed with a whole bunch of swings at once. All right. Zooming in, M30 chart here. I found that this wide bullish channel has been pretty valid today. So you can see that we've been testing the top of this channel. Every time we test the top, big reaction, test the top, big reaction, test the top, big reaction. And then these bottoms have been forming some higher lows as well. So it does tell us that we can be mildly bullish in the shorter term. And we're just sort of rubbing up against this level. So buyers have some weak control on a longer term and a shorter term time frame. So I think we have a slight bullish tailwind, which makes me favor some more bullish trades on the long side. And let's look at what's happening today on SPY. So we had a gap up, and we poked in, tested halfway of the gap. We held half of that gap, and then we started to rally higher. Now we tested that all-time high again. We didn't quite get there. We got pretty close, but you can see again that tested the top of that trend line. And I try to draw this parallel, so these little pokes above it are fine, but I try to draw it parallel to what I'm seeing here. And I mean, maybe something like this. Not probably the best way to do it, but probably something like that. Could potentially be valid. We got a breakthrough here. I don't like this breakthrough, so it doesn't mean this bottom is as validated, but something like that seems to make some sense to me. I like to have it parallel, and it has a good amount of validation. So moving back into the M5 today, we'll poke into the bottom. We held the gap. We try to move up higher, and I thought this could be promising over here, right? That we got this breakout, we got this fresh 1OP bullish cross. I was actually really liking this as a bullish setup. So I was looking for some longs, and then the next candle, we got this bearish hammer, big range, on pretty good volume, right? And this is higher volume than the breakout candle. So that got me a little bit more cautious. We couldn't hold the breakout, and now we're testing the downside over here. Seeing if we can poke below that. We're getting some tails. So to me, this seems like a pretty dead day. I mean, the market, if you look at the market here, it's pretty much been right at the open over here. So right now what I'm seeing is that if this holds, we get some more tails under bodies. I'm going to take profits on my little SPY short over here. I've been trying out these 1OP sell signals. So if 1OP on the M15 is on a sell signal, which seems to be a little bit this indicator seems to be a little bit off relative to what this is saying. But if it's on a sell signal on the M15 and then the M5 gets a sell signal, then that's a nice entry point. So that's kind of what I took the short on, but that's not the point of the video. The point of the video is we're going to assume this holds. Let's see if we can find some relatively strong stocks to take a nice win on. I think all we need is really one nice, relatively strong stock. So let's look at LEN. LEN was breaking through. It's been breaking through its compression right here. I do like this entry right now. We got some high volume. So if it can close above this high, I like LEN quite a bit. So home builders have been very strong recently. I think it's post CPI. It's probably something about the, the ability to build more shelters or something like that. So, you can see this really strong move, heavy volume through downward sloping trend line and above its SMAs here. There's a little bit of looks like support or resistance here. So let's take a look at LEN just on a volume chart. Let's see where some volume comes into play. It looks like, we're kind of at some of these levels now. We broke through a ton of these over here. That's a nice high volume candle. You see that here is a nice high volume candle. So you can see that there's some reactions at these levels. And I think it's important if you're doing any sort of intraday day trading to be aware of these levels, because that's where you can kind of get these sharp reversals. If you're in swing trading and you have a stock with really heavy volume, that's when you can really break these levels. So there looks to be some little bit of stuff over here. There's also this downward sloping trend line coming into play here. So I would respect this trend line for sure. Could be a potential nice day trading setup. I'm going to keep an eye on this, and you can see how it reacted to this trend line. It's just been digesting the gains, a really nice relative strength, especially when the market has been going down. So I like that. Let's see what else we can find. Bank stocks have been very strong today with bank earnings. Let's look back at BAC. We missed this LRSI cross here, so I'm going to set an alert for another LRSI cross, see if we can get in on that. Probably the same on PNC. If it's going to load. Okay, not bad. Yeah, I'd like to get in on the LRSI cross on this. So missed that. Uber was one I liked quite a bit today. Oh, there's LEN. Okay. So LEN might be setting up in this video. So Uber was one I liked a lot as well. So I'm going to let this D1 chart to load. So you can see it's breaking out of compression. Now there is a little bit of resistance over here from this gap on the 14th, as well as this open of this candle right here. You can see that there is some price reaction at this point. So Uber, and if you're unsure if that's true, look at the M5 chart and how it's kind of confirming this price reaction here. So that tells us that there is some level here. So I just have an alert set at the high of the day. You can see again, we have this nice ascending triangle set up. So if we get this pop out of the box compression, I think Uber is going to look very, very nice. And I'm just going to see if I can get out on SPY here. So Uber is looking pretty nice. And that I really this is probably my favorite setup, just because the stock, it is choppy, but when it makes these compression breaks, that you can get a really quick move and kind of get in and out pretty fast. So that's what I like about Uber. And there's a lot of room if it does break through the upside. What I don't like about LEN as much is that I feel like there may be, I would still prefer to get above this high from the earnings candle right here. I feel like that could be a little bit of a wall, and there's not as much room on that. So that's why I'm not as crazy about that stock. I'm just resetting all of these indicators. Super marked up chart, and that's for a good reason, right? You can see if it's a really choppy chart, you have to be careful because there's so many little like high volume candles that it kind of hits, maybe bounces back off, bounces back off. So in this sort of session here, you have to be a little bit more careful. You really need a ton of volume to be able to power through all of these, and that means something has to materially change about the stock. So I may go with, I think I'm going to go with Uber as my pick as a day trade long for today. So I'm going to add this to my YouTube picks. Now I'm going to see if there's anything on the bearish side today too. Schwab was pretty nice. See if anything's on heavy sell. Let's look at Snap. And I believe if I go to my sectors here, yeah, tech is pretty weak. Let's see what's weak in tech. Software infrastructure. Yeah, Crowd, DLO, Oracle. So some of these are pretty. NTNX is definitely one of the better looking bearish charts. This may be my favorite bearish chart actually right now. Potentially for a swing. You see this heavy volume breakdown. We're getting a little bit of a pullback here. So I may enter on an LRSI. Whoops, that's the wrong alert. A bearish LRSI alert on NTNX. The only thing I'm not crazy about on this stock is that you can see it's already made a pretty big move. So like I would love to have taken it on this failed bounce and start to short that. We got a big move down, big move up. We get some candles over here, some volume start to come in, and they get the breakdown. So this sort of pullback after the failed bounce, that is a really nice entry point. You can see there's some couple of D1 levels in the way. So, but that's sort of the price action I'd want. And it does feel like I would perhaps wait for a pullback on this. So I'm even going to set another alert. And this is going to be an LRSI alert on the M30. So if I get that pullback here, I think we could get a nice setup as a swing short on NTNX. So I'm just looking for stuff that is weak. I'm going to go, let's see, go to my bear grinder search, DLTR. It's not bad. It's good. This you can see there's some clear resistance at the A VWAP Q. And it has to get through this level. We're a little bit too close to that support level for my taste. Anything going parabolic here? CLF. Google is pretty weak. Let's look at Google here. Yeah, Mega Cap Tech is showing some weakness for sure. Here's the 5-day low on Google. So we're right at that 5-day low. Not a bad short, but I prefer a weaker D1 chart. I don't like taking those reversals too much. CLF. I know this is a... Oh, that's Veil. Let's get CLF here. CLF had a decent bounce. Now, we have to be careful. We can't quite short this. If you draw this upward sloping trend line, you can see that the stock is in a wide bullish trend. It may still be really good on a longer term basis, but you want it to at least clear this trend line. So I'm going to set a good to cancel alert on that. MMM is a choppy mess. Do not want to short this guy. Caesar. Yeah, a lot of reversals setting up here. I'm gonna look for some weak D1s here, and look for weak D1s, but maybe they may not be about in their outside day here. So weak D1s. Let's look for heavy volume here. So DLTR is obviously one. A lot of these weak D1s look like they're bouncing today. And by the way, this search that I have, it's a pretty simple search. It's stocks with relative weakness and relative strength on a D1 and H1. Trade signal on both. They're below all the SMAs and AVWAP-Q. You know, price, good option liquidity. Also, I need to actually save that ATR. So some ATR as 2% is pretty mild, but it does take out the super dull movers. So I know the stock does have a little bit of movement. So this is a pretty wide filter here, and then in my actual column layout, I can filter for something like range or something like R volume on that. So, yeah, I mean, maybe some weak stocks that are bouncing. So that's kind of what we're looking at here. And we're going to try to find a weak stock that is bouncing here. Starbucks is weak, but this is some pretty major support over here, this blue line. So not interested in taking Starbucks. You can see the strong reaction at that level. Macy's, nope. AAL, big pop up, but it's not a fan of that. When there is Lulu, Sedge was weak and now it's popping up. Let's see what's on signals across the time frame. BMY, pretty weak across the board. Yeah, it's hard to get a lot of red in here. Yeah, well, in any case, I think I'm going to go with NTNX. Would not mind taking that as a day trade short. And it potentially may trigger right now. We have a bearish reversal. Nice bearish hammer off of VWAP. Not a bad entry point. We're seeing a little bit of follow through. I would like for it to at least get through this trend line right here. That tells me that we can be short, and we need the market to get through the low of the day. So if that happens, then NTNX could be a pretty nice short. One thing to note here is that we see the relative strength is going strong, but we know that the main story, the main trend of this stock is that it is very, very weak. So this just tells us that there is the price is moving up, but we're watching the volume, we're watching the price action. This is a pretty weak move up. There is some volume coming in here. This is a decent volume candle. This is a decent volume candle, but all in all, pretty weak. So those are going to be the two picks for today. On a swing basis, there's a couple things that we're watching that could be interesting. The first one is, whoops, didn't mean to make that so big. The first one is Lily. And we watched that a couple days ago, I think when I was doing the live video on Friday. We have a little bit of a bearish hammer here, a bit of a pause. So I want to see a pullback to that 8 EMA and see if we can get some sort of tail like this. That is the clue that I want to enter that stock. So when I get that pullback and that tail, then we could probably get that next leg higher. So that's what I'm watching for in Lily. One I called yesterday was Cat. Cat, super big move today. I'm actually not even trading it today because it made me so mad that I missed this move. But there we go. We have a beautiful break through the SMA yesterday. It didn't have a strong close, which is why I didn't take it. And then today it surged up really, really high in the morning. Went a little bit parabolic. Now it's holding the gains. This is a pretty low volume pullback, so we're probably going to find some support here. And you can see there's a lot of relative strength in this stock. So not a bad one to even consider for another swing here. And you can see NTNX is setting up. We just need the market to actually crack through over here. So that's it for today's video. Thanks for watching, everyone. And we'll take a look at how these two day trade picks did tomorrow.